Well, Jim, the other big name that AEW released, and this is one that a lot of people were clamoring for, Ricky Starks. He was released apparently on February 10th.
Well, where in the world is he going to be able to go? I mean, he might be out of the business. Why? He has no fallback plan. Well, we won't see him for months and months.
As I was saying, he was released on February 10th. The next night, he was on NXT. The next night, he was on NXT, a surprise debut. Of course, Ricky Starks was the World Tag Team Champion in AEW with Big Bill. Abruptly, they weren't, and then Ricky Starks was off TV. Big Bill went to work with Jericho. One of the things that plagued Ricky Starks' run in AEW, Chris Jericho. Starks was home. People were wondering why he wasn't there. He was doing interviews. He didn't even really seem to know what the hell was going on. And then he made a couple of indie appearances, announced he was going to be at GCW, and then AEW pulled him. And now they've released him, and he has found a new home. What do you think of all this of Ricky Starks, and what do you think of Ricky Starks' future in an NXT or a WWE?
Well, I did see this clip of Starks coming into the arena as a surprise. The announcers were like, "Oh my gosh, look who that is!" And the people, and of course, this is I guess it's still where they do NXT is the Performance Center, right, or their own building, regular building, and it's right. A regular crowd, and it's like the OVW crowd I used to have in Louisville. They're regular, and they're the crowd that is most forgiving of their local show there. But they hit their feet, and they gave him a round of applause, and they cheered, and they chanted, "Ricky, Ricky," and "Lucy, Lucy," and but it was over there, and he came out. He's been working out. His arms looked great. He looked like a star. He was put together. He did a little short promo, just putting himself over, the old classic new star coming into a territory, cuts promo to put himself over and makes people want to watch out for him. And the fans there loved it on the show. And that's, if they'd have been taping NXT at 2 a.m. in the morning in a parking lot in Des Moines the day after he got his release, he would have been there. He's been waiting for that. And I'm sure Cody has put in a word, and I'm sure Cody put in a word about his plight of his friend being stuck in his company that he didn't want to be in, that he has more to offer, that he, had been constantly fucking put into goofy shit. He and Big Bill were an off-brand tag team that they put together, and remember we said even that kind of, okay, this could work. The little mouthy guy and the big guy, and they were the tag team champions. And then because Sting had to, well, I don't say Sting had to, because all of the Lollipop Guild had to shoehorn their way into Sting's retirement and then pay him the homage of retiring as tag team champion as the biggest honor of his life. They took the belts off Big Bill and Starks. It might have done something with them, and for the Buckaroos to drop them at the pay-per-view. And meanwhile, then Starks and Big Bill break up, and Starks goes away and never to be seen again. And that's been a year that they paid him when he didn't want to be there, and they obviously weren't going to use him, but hindering him from going anywhere else. And when the WWE does it, in some cases, it's still prickish, but you kind of expect it more and you can understand it better because you expect them to be a heartless business corporation and hold you to every term that they can hold you to. But also at the same point, especially with the new administration, unless you've really been buried by the fucking booking and like, get me the fuck out of here, you've had probably a better chance there of doing something you're going to have over here where it's just chaos all the time and who's going to be on Tony's radar this week. But either use the guy for a year to pay him. Either have the balls to do something, use him, make him do jobs if you have to, or just let him fucking go because he don't want to be there and it's just going to be a downer.
You want to talk about something that exemplifies the problem with so much in AEW? One of the last segments I remember, Ricky Stark's in the ring, there were security guards around him, and Edge had just arrived. And he called Edge bug-eyed. Not like, just you bug, like it was in the midst of whatever he was saying. It was a promo. Edge didn't take it very well and went and just shut Starks down. That didn't help anything. And you know what? Whatever he meant and whatever he means in other places, Ricky Starks meant more to AEW and could have meant a whole lot more than Cope. And AEW blew it. That was a guy that AEW had from what, 2020? During the pandemic. Yeah. He challenged Cody, right? Wasn't it? He was one of the TNT title challengers for Cody at Daly's place. They had a lot of chances with him as a babyface and as a heel. It's amazing. Him and MJF. The biggest feud that MJF never had that had a false start and the fans were into it was Ricky Starks. The fans were ready for it, and then it just went away. Was that when Starks got dragged into working with Jericho? I don't even remember.
I can't either. You'd have to have a annotated glossary to keep up with his comings and goings, but
they didn't say his name on NXT. What do you think of that?
Well, I think they're probably they were probably wanting to gauge public reaction, and maybe they're going to do some kind of outsider thing. If they had thoughts of giving him a different name when the people were chanting it over and over on television, they might want to rethink that. I think the people, that's part of the nice part of getting somebody that people already know and know who they are and are predisposed to like and be into on your show is you don't change their name and confuse the people I was just talking about that might be into him.
You take advantage of it.
Yeah. So they might, maybe they're thinking, maybe that was a dry run. Who knows? But that's where he's wanted to go. And that's why I'm saying that I'm sure that Cody has put a word in for him as being a valuable talent that has been stuck in an untenable situation for some time that Cody or other people can vouch for. And so he cut out some of the transition time that guys usually have going from one place to the next. They were 24 hours.
Right or wrong that Ricky Starks had any heat in AEW with people for appearing on that security camera footage with Cody, and if the roles were reversed, how would WWE react if one of their wrestlers was caught on security camera backstage at an AEW show?
Well, remember, I think we had this discussion a while back, and hopefully my views haven't changed. But I think if it was in public, that would be an issue with me, regardless whether you're friends or not or whatever the fuck. I don't know that they reasonably thought that the building security camera footage would be leaked of Starks coming in the back with Cody. And at the same time, even being seen, so when you used to, in the territory days, if one of the big companies would run a town and one of the guys from the local territory that was going out of business would be there, or just a guy would show up in the territory days when they were strong that wasn't booked in that territory, but he was one of the boys and he'd just show up to visit. That was generally looked down upon because it was the most obvious form of job fishing and showed that you were desperate and seldom worked. But and it's I didn't like the sheep whacker, the bush with the Australian, the damn man from down under. What was his name? Vegemite, the guy that was on the TNA TV. No, he was Scottish. Wasn't Australian. He was the Highlander fellow. When he was out in the audience with the fans at WrestleMania weekend in TNA's TV taping in Orlando, that was fair game. Because they fired him. But, I don't think, again, Tony and the rest of those guys and girls in that company are such fans not only of wrestling around the world, but of supporting their friends that they often have friends in Japan going to their matches or friends here and there. But I think if it was a public situation, the other side shouldn't be seen in public by the fans, the general people. But if it was going in the back of the building, I think that was not as something to make a huge deal out of. We'll see how big a boy Starks is. That's what we'll see.